Hey, hey, hey. Hey, okay. Out to the pay, for the grass is always greener. I don't do no labels, I call it how I see it. Okay, out to the pay, for the grass is always greener. I don't do no labels, I call it how I see it.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of No Label the Podcast. Here, my boy Nell.
Yo.
Special shout outs to everybody that's been subscribing on YouTube, liking, following on Instagram, sharing. Got a lot more engagement going in season 5. Love to see it. So we appreciate y'all for that.
Absolutely.
Now, go ahead, get into the sponsor.
Where shout out to Guap Coin, cryptocurrency for the culture. You know what I'm saying? Understand that blockchain, understand where the game is going. Get in while you can. Get in where you fit in.
Get in where you fit in.
Today, we're sitting with a dope artist. I've been hearing her name for a long time, and for a while I didn't see her face. So I was like, who is this? Like, everybody, and I hear songs. I'm like, yo, she's dope.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the pleasure of meeting her at, I want to say it was a Wakanda Alliance. Yeah, and we just popped up and we just chopping up. I'm like, oh, that's you. I'm like, okay, word. And we just kept bumping into each other. And I'm like, yo, we have to sit down and have a conversation. She is founder of Get Focused. Mm-hmm. Is that production?
Yes.
Yeah, Get Focused Production. An amazing poet, MC, teacher, mother, wife. Absolutely. We are sitting with AI the Anomaly. How are you?
Appreciate it. I'm doing very well and rested. I'm
Great to hear.
ready.
Yeah,
that's with my type of lifestyle. After a certain time, ready to put a bonnet on and just call it a day.
Nah, I get that.
I'm grateful to be here. I've heard a lot about the podcast. I've heard a lot about you outside of the podcast and the things that you do with just teaching, right, and everything like that. So I'm grateful to be here in this space. So
thank you.
Appreciate you for coming through.
Of course.
So you from Buffalo, right?
Of course, born and raised, East Side.
Dope. What we always like to tap in with what high school did you go to?
So I went to performing
Oh
arts.
my God.
PA. Did you go to PA?
Yeah.
What?
No, he went to PA for middle school.
I was on Clinton. I was on Clinton.
I was on Clinton.
Come on.
Then they switched it up on us. We would have did better if we were where they are now.
Man, that new spot is fire.
I think 90% of our guests went to PA.
There are 90% of your guests artists to a certain degree. I mean.
Hey man, all of the artists that did not go to PA, tap in with us. We want to expand the love.
They're out there. But yeah, PA was an interesting space. But I'm grateful I went. I was exposed to a lot of different arts, opportunities, and I think I just kind of saturated all that I could in every aspect. I would like sneak and tap into other spaces too,
What was your major?
My major was music.
Okay.
I went for piano.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went for piano and wound up doing a whole bunch of other stuff.
Same.
Really?
Literally.
Wow. He playing.
I swear. I played my audition, I played Boogie Woogie.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I played Boogie Woogie. And then they put me in. They didn't have a piano lessons, so they put me in choir with Mr. Shinta.
Mr. Shinta.
And then 2 years I went to band and started playing saxophone.
Right. Did you have Mr. DeWitt?
I didn't have the pleasure of sitting with Mr. DeWitt. But no, I was
Davis. You had to come across
Davis was high school. Yeah, so I would have had Davis if I would have said.
Yeah, one of the dopest teachers there. He really put us on to a lot of good music and gave us like a rich history and helped us have an appreciation of music and just like really taught us a lot. Taught us the truth about, you know, certain stuff. Like I learned that, like the song Hound Dog, you ain't nothing but the one that Elvis sings. It wasn't the original singer. It was Big Mama Thornton. Like he would teach us about stuff like that. Like, oh man, you done stole the song. It's not fair. But stuff like that I appreciate, you know. So yeah, I had Mr. Shinta as well. I auditioned on the piano but didn't get a lesson. So they stuck me in a band, just like they did for you. But I'm grateful because I learned a lot about percussion and, you know, just the appreciation of, you know, knowing your lane, knowing your role. I did marching band, carried the big mallets. It's probably why I'm real strong up, you know. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience.
Nah,
sure.
that's PA is a very unique spot because it's like there wasn't bullying for like there's a kid skipping and twirling through the hallways. You just that's a normal day. Like I'm just going to second period.
So there's no bullying at all, or maybe just not the normal type of bullying.
Like if you were to twirl and do what they were doing,
hypothetically,
if you were doing that, the things that they were doing at PA in a different like traditional school, you're gonna face a whole bunch of issues. But it was embraced. Everybody was able to be free in their artistic selves.
That's super dope. When you left, sometimes a lot of people when they leave PA, they kind of like shy away from the arts just because like for whatever reason. When you left PA, did you go to college or did you just full go in the artist mode?
Yeah, I went straight to college. I went to Buffalo State it was a summer bridge program. And I went like literally right out of high school. That summer, I went right to college and earned some credits beforehand. And I went to college for journalism and broadcasting and journalism. There was no way to separate arts from me though, because arts for me is like voice. It's like my breath. Like it's part of me, and it was just always with me. Once I learned about it, it was a wrap. I knew that was like my thing to be able to get through my life, you know? Right. So there was no separating that. There's no way to separate it. You know, it's part of who I am. But yeah, I went to Buff State and did really good until I realized, oh shoot, I don't have to go to class. Like I have to go to class, but nobody's berating me to go to class. Then I started to, you know, make some crazy decisions and left, got myself together, went back, you know, story goes on.
Word. So while you like going through that, I won't say turmoil at Buff State, like when you're figuring it out, was there like, were you like doing open mics, the poetry and rapping?
So my first, my first show wasn't, what I'm going to describe is I consider it my first show because it was like a space that I didn't know anyone and like I'm stepping out on this situation. It was at Rendezvous. Y'all remember Rendezvous?
Nope.
No. I had a car and it was a Rendezvous.
And it might have been, I would have to go back actually. It was some like different schools, you know, you have these school situations, but I would say Albright Knox might have been the first like real show where I was asked to come and be part of this program. It was actually Idris that had this program at Albright Knox. And he did this hip hop thing at an art gallery. I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, I want to do this.
That's fine.
And so I was part of that. And then I'd say Broadway Joe's. Y'all remember Broadway Joe's? I performed there a couple times.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever been there.
Yeah, it was dope. And I was pretty young. Like I shouldn't have been in there, but I was in there rapping.
You gotta make it happen.
I was heavy in the. I was heavy in the kind of the battling scene, and so I battled a lot. I was young and just like battling, freestyling. There was this one spot called Sean B's. It was on Main Street. It's like a liquor store now, but it was a club back in the day. I want to say it was Sean B's. I performed there, Rendezvous, and some other places. But yeah, man, I was I was out here. I was doing a lot.
When you were battle rapping, was your name AI?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. What was my name? I think I was just Itina.
Okay.
You know, at that time, and I went through different names and trying to figure out what my identity was going to be. I just wanted to rap.
Gotcha.
That's all I wanted to do.
You grew up watching battle rap, or like were you into it really?
No, I just wanted to rap. I just enjoy the craft of like rhythm and like being able to come up with something clever to say. Like, how can I use these words to play, you know, off of each other? How many double, triple entendres can I create off the top of my head? I just love the art of, you know, rap, rhythm and poetry. I love the English language. I love all of that. It was a game. It was like a puzzle for me. And so I was just attracted to that. I didn't really follow battle, but I do love watching battle rappers.
No,
I think there's a significant art to that.
Yeah, there's some of the most like, you have to be like a high level of intelligence to like how they tie together with how you bend words, creating spaces in between words to rhyme with other words.
But then it's
especially depending how long of preparation you have going into that battle.
True.
Preparing for multiple battles at like in like one time period.
Right.
That's tough.
And then the performance of it, delivering lines. You could deliver a line and it could not hit if you don't deliver it right. You have to have this level of performance with you too. The difference though between battling now, to some degree, this is not always, but it's something about freestyling. I'm talking about, you know what I mean when I'm saying freestyling. Like straight up off the top of the head. You didn't write it, you didn't memorize it. There's a big difference between that kind of battling where you just meet the person, you just gotta go. And then the battling that they do now where they're doing some research on you and they like, oh, I'm going to say this. Like, it's just a difference, but I still respect it. I respect the craft. I think it's really dope.
Yeah. It was the battle rapper Daylight. He put me onto a book called Blink. It's like the art of like being able to respond without having all the information type of thing, and like and how he attributed it to his freestyling. So like a lot of times like battle rappers will have their verses, but then somebody will say something that's so good, I have to like repeat what they said and kind of like address what they said. And he's how that book
a rebuttal.
It's almost like improv. So there's like this theater piece to it too, which is why I love the fact that I went to performing arts and tapped into these different spaces, because that is another element, being able to have a good response based off of whatever's there. It's like this game called Yes and in theater, where you're ready to continue the conversation or what have you. Being able to hear something somebody says and then play off of it, and like kind of like it's like fighting with words. You know, it's literally battling like you're in a boxing ring, but just with words. So you have to be intentional. You have to be an active listener in order to like, okay, let me hear what you're saying. Okay, I'm gonna take what you said. I'm gonna think about. You know, it's
like I can say that better. Like,
now, do you?
It's fire.
I'm gonna ask you. Like, when people do that, so say the person says a line or whatever, you take that like, oh, I'm gonna rebuttal off of that. Do you just like not even pay attention to the rest of the battle, and you're just thinking about like how I'm gonna rebuttal that line he just said?
You always have to be on your toes with battling. You got to pay attention, which means that you have to have an active mind. In order to have an active mind, you kind of got to be freed up from some stuff. You know, you got to be on top of it, and you got to pay attention. In my opinion, from my perspective, being able to pay attention but also think and write in your mind,
that's
and
different.
then remember it and have the perform. That's why I think battle rap is such an art form, and it needs to be respected, because these dudes, they don't know what you going. They may sort of know what you're going to say because they're doing research and stuff like that at this point, but like you got to be on top of that. You have to like. So I'll liken it to Equalizer. You know how Denzel, when he walks into a space, and then that moment that they have where it goes into his eyes and he sees everything, and he knows like, okay, it's going to take me about 60 seconds or 20 seconds to do whatever. And then he sees everything he needs to see, and then he goes for it. so that's kind of like when I think of battle rap, I'm thinking like, all right, I'm looking at your fit. All right, I'm seeing, all the things, and then I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm piecing together what I'm gonna do, and then boom, you attacking, and it's just like crafty.
And on top of that, making it smooth and clever.
But then like you gotta be sweet with
Yeah,
it.
you gotta have charisma with it.
You gotta do it, and then get the audience involved.
For sure.
It's a craft, man. I respect it. I respect it like I respect MMA. It's a craft to that as well, in my opinion.
Oh, it's all the martial arts, the liberal arts, all of that. It's all art form.
All of the arts.
Yeah, it made me think about like the artist Juice WRLD. He's a younger artist. Rest in peace. But his freestyling ability,
insane.
Unlike things I've never seen. Like literally hours straight rapping about what's like on your table, and just going. And it's just like it made me realize like because when I first heard him, I was like, I'm not a big fan of. I saw him freestyling, and I was like, I understand. Yeah, gotta give it to him.
Those are people that are hyper aware. It's like Equalizer, like what is his name, McCall, in the movie,
something like that.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But it's like that, or like Sherlock Holmes. Yes,
Holmes?
That especially how it's filmed. That's why I like film too. Like they strategically have those moments where they're piecing together what they're gonna do, and you see it in like the slow motion, kind of seeing how their mind works, and then they pull out of it. And it's like real quick. It's like you have to be hyper aware of your surroundings, But in my opinion, in order to be a crafty writer, you have to be an avid reader. In my opinion, the more you read, the more you can give out. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's a fact.
The more information you have, the more metaphors you could pull from, the more things you could say, the more ways you can attribute certain things to other things, perspectives.
Now, do you think you can only get that from reading, though?
No, I don't. I think you can also get it from a myriad of experiences. Because all reading is just you're experiencing stories or experiencing moments. You don't have to be an avid reader. But I think it helps because it adds to your diction. It's more words you got in the cabinet.
Yeah, that's true.
I used to read the dictionary and just pull from the dictionary. And then there's this one book that had like metaphors and similes. My little nerdy self, I would read it and I would write the words. I just really felt like, man, the more words I have, the more I could pull and just like throw them out there. And people are like, what does that mean? I'll break it down, Yeah.
See, like I used to listen I still listen to like artists like Nas. When I was growing up, like I just didn't know what he would sound like. What word is that? And I would go look up. That's how I would get my research. And like I would research that, and it's just like I feel like that's what allowed me to like, okay, wait, I could pull information from this.
Right.
I can pull information from that. I wasn't a big reader, but I paid attention. I was like using that like hyper focus, and it's like, okay, like I didn't go to school to learn. Yeah. I went to school to politic, be social. But I was walking home, I'm seeing this. I'm understanding my environment. That allowed me to like build my intelligence. But then college wise, I started reading and started understanding where I'm at.
Right. Yeah, that's dope. That's dope for sure.
So I wanted to bridge it in with like the art of like battle rapping, and I even think of like kind of like content creation when you see something happen in the news and you have to be quick because you want to get the content out before somebody else, and making it funny, making it catch. Yeah. You work with kids and as far as helping them express themselves artistically. How did you get into that?
Man, when I want to say, well, first of all, my first job was being a junior counselor at the Mayor's Summer Youth Program. So I was about 14, the youngest you could be in that program. And so I worked with youth at a very early age, and I knew early on that that's what I wanted to do. Because of my background and what I dealt with growing up, I just felt connected. Like I want young people to understand that there's this other option, you know? And so I got into it from then. What really stapled it for me was when I was in the Yo Buffalo program.
Okay.
Yo Buffalo was Youth Opportunity Buffalo at JFK, right next door to Performing Arts.
Okay.
And so I would go right there. And so they had all these different programs that you can get involved in. And one of the programs was SEPA Gallery. One was Squeaky Wheel, Apollo Media Center. There was a Matrix program. And all of these programs just kind of supported everything I was learning at Performing Arts. But when I went to SEPA and learned about photography, and I watched in the dark room like a blank piece of paper go through this process, and then I could see like these images come up, I'm like, oh shoot, this is it. I'm doing this. This is what I want to do. And I remember sitting in the classroom space down in the basement, just like thinking about what it did for me. And I think I was about 15. And I'm like, man, like the opportunities that I was getting to get paid to teach, the attention that I was receiving where they took my photos and used it as advertisement. I was in the paper and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, I want to do something more in my life. Always being told that you're not going to amount to anything, or you from the hood, nobody from the hood can make it, you from the east side. So I started to see like, oh shoot, I actually do got a little potential up in here. So I wanted every young person to feel that. And so I knew like, all right, I'm going to do whatever I can to work with young people in any capacity. And I never stopped. Like the capacities may have changed, but I'm still much dedicated to like helping young people just have another outlet or an alternative. You feel me?
Yeah. Nah, it's super important because it's like we lack the resources, and we know how to turn lemons into lemonade, but it's like we could, instead of surviving, we could easily be thriving if we had those opportunities.
And sometimes, it's like just give us a little bit, because we could do a lot with a little bit. Like, come on,
we're gonna make it multiply.
Bologna sandwiches.
Nah, for
far,
sure.
When I didn't have a situation where the lights was out growing up, but still, if the lights was out, you gonna figure out a way. If the gas is out, you gonna figure out a way. You don't have the right kicks or something, or whatever it is. We figure stuff out. Very resourceful, and I think there's gold in that too. Like, absolutely. I always want to let young people know, like, it don't matter where you come from. Like, growing up, across the street was a drug house. Next door was a drug house. And that was my reality. But when I started to be around these other programs, I started to question my reality. And I think that's the key. Absolutely. Having young people realize that, oh, I can actually question this. Like, there is something strange about this. And at something first it was just like, oh, this them. This is what it is. But it was something about the arts that widened my view. And then this program took us out of town. And so I began to see like other cities. And one thing that stood out to me growing up, when I would go out of town and we would ride around these different spaces. How come every hood looked the same? That's one thing that stood out to me. Like, there has to be some kind of thing going on to where I'm across the country.
And I see the exact same thing.
And I know that I'm in the hood. Like, there's something in the air.
And there's the people that look just like the people that are in my hood. So just like my cousins,
and
my friends.
The same kind of situations, like there's a drug house, it's a trap house. I don't know what they call it anymore. There's that, there's the liquor store, and it's a church. All on the corner.
Every time.
Like, really?
The little kids on a bike.
McDonald's and Burger King is the options.
Corner store, no fruit, no
corner
veggies.
Store, yeah, right.
And it ain't nobody black owning the corner store.
Interesting, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So those types of experiences and then the conversations we would have around those things in these spaces really pushed my brain to think and to really come to the conclusion of, like, I have the power to help ignite change, first with me. Like, how do I change first? And then from there, like giving whatever I have to give to see change around me.
Yeah, that's one thing I feel like people, I'll say artists miss sometimes. Is like sometimes they blow up and it's like, okay, the people like me for this name I created, this sound I created.
Right.
And it's like they feel like they start to get into pleasing of the fans instead of doing what got you there in the first place.
Right.
And then you said like artists have that unique experience of traveling, different cities, different hoods. And it's just like you created this opportunity from yourself or from your mind. It's like why don't you get more engaged and uplift these communities that you go to see each time you go? And that's one thing I respect a lot about you is like the community work and stuff that you do. It's something that I feel like our culture and is so much based around art. How could the artists not? It's almost like we get pulled out of the culture, our communities, to get shown off around the world while our home isn't taken care of.
Yeah, I think it's a individual to individual type of thing. Like it's a sacrifice to move the way that I move. Like I could be in California right now. I could be anywhere in the world. But my choice is I want to be in my city. You feel me? Like I still live in a hood. Do I have to? No. As a matter of fact, we're looking to move. I didn't think,
Word.
But it was just something about young people, and not only young people, we always say young people, right? We need to see each other. We need to see each other thriving as adults. I need to see more people that move like me or move like any other person that I feel is successful who looks like me. But it was something about walking out my house and seeing the young people that I work with from the schools that are in my neighborhood, and they saw me perform at their school or they saw me in their classroom. You know what I mean?
They love it.
It just does something to them, and that to me is a check. That's a check to me. Like I'm me and my family we're financially free in a sense of we can make decisions how we want to make them. We try to make wise decisions so that we can maintain the lifestyle that we want. But like no amount of money can give me the feeling that I get when I walk down my street and a kid comes up, Miss Itina, oh my God, like you live around here?
Listen.
Like, yeah, I ain't gonna tell you where I live.
Exactly.
I want you coming up to my door. But it's just being able to see that, and then you see me in your school. You see me on the news. And I'm touchable. I'm reachable.
When I tell the kids I got a podcast and they see, like, oh, y'all got 7 word? Yeah. Like, their eyes light up. Like, it's different.
And that's sacrifice. Because, bro, you could be doing a lot of other things. You really could. Yeah. But you chose to do what you're doing, you know? And I think it's important for at least a handful of us to do that.
For sure.
You know?
That's what got me stuck in teaching, where it was just like I started leaving my job without grabbing my checks. That's when I kind of knew. I'm like, okay, there's something to this. Like, I got paid. Yeah. So I was over at MST high school, and I was like, that's right on Delavan, and I'd drive, but sometimes I'd walk to the Delamo, and students would see me, and they just faces just like, wait, you're here? Like what? I'm like, yes, I'm a person too. Like, right. And like, I went to school for education. Like after that, but they teach them, don't live in the district that you teach in. Don't live in those same neighborhoods. You don't want them to see you being not teacherly and stuff like that. They don't want you to see them at the bar, stuff like that. Like they instruct them to do that. I'm like, right. And I'm like, that's your issue right there.
That's the problem.
Because they think you're something that's
unattainable.
It doesn't exist in their reality.
Right.
Like, and it's like, but and they're like, oh, how do you get such a connection with the people or with the kids? And something's like, because I see them at the corner store. I see them at the corner store. Like, it's that simple. but it goes over people's heads.
Yeah. And I get that though. Is you want to kind of separate, your family, your lifestyle from that, but like I said, it's for a handful of people, and I chose to be one of those in a handful.
Right.
There's a lot of choices you can make, but then there's like, okay, what makes sense for my life? Like, I always say this, what do I want my life to say? And so this is what I want my life to say. And the beauty is that we have the freedom to choose, and in the choice there's a risk, but it's a risk to everything.
Where
There's a risk for me to go touring. You know what I'm saying? I could be touring, or I could be here with my family, living a peaceable life, and being able to, move freely. Freely as I kind of allow myself to live. I think there's freedom in that, and I wish that upon everybody.
Absolutely.
I think everyone should be doing the things that they naturally feel come easy. Where you're leaving the space and forgetting your check type of time.
Word. And it's funny because one of my students there at MST, I seen him. He was always like cutting up. He was like getting into fights, and it was just rude. And I'm like, yo, this dude is like, I'm like, yo, I hope he gets it. And over time, I didn't see him for a few years, and I see him. He's got a camera, and I'm like, yo, you're doing something like that's. I'm like, yo, that's what's up. Like, yo, keep going, do your thing, da 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 da. And he just becomes this dope photographer who gets put in Time magazine. I seen him.
Who we talking about?
Malik.
That's one of my old students.
And that's what I was like, yo, I'm like, he didn't have a camera when I first met him, so I'm sure he got introduced and got taught into the craft from you. Like, I thought that was super dope.
Man, I call him my son. It's my other son. Yeah, man. He was in a program that I was running called the More Program. And what was dope about the More Program is that these students, not all of the students came from this space, but a lot of the students that were put into the detention center, when you come out, you had to go to probation, right? And so our program was that alternative program to where you had a choice. You can go see your probation officer, or you can dedicate yourself to 12 sessions of the program that I ran. So a lot of students are going to want to choose the program.
Absolutely.
And so type my little tiny self, but I don't play. I do not play. I ran that program with the toughest, roughest young people in Buffalo for a section of time. And I just exposed it. It's all about being real with them. Like, I'm not here trying to be something I'm not, but I'm about to put you on because you don't have to do what you're doing that got you in this place. You don't have to do that. You can make a different choice. Most of those kids were in positions that they couldn't control, and they were responding to those circumstances in a way in which got them into some trouble. And inside of the little cells were babies, basically. Not in a derogatory, I'm not trying to down them.
Innocence.
But yeah. And they just wanted to be loved for the most part. Some of them was like, you belong here. You need to be here for a little bit. But most of them just needed love. And so I would try to craft programs to give them this outlook that I had. Like, yo, I can do more. They just wanted more, in life. And so, I mean, we did photography. I had different leaders in Buffalo come and talk to them. And then there was this program that I helped kind of cultivate called Artworks, which is still going on at young audiences. I had to travel to do research about these other programs to develop this. But from the More program, you can be placed in the Artworks program, but you had to go through that process. And in the Artworks program, you got paid to learn alongside a master teaching artist. And then so these young people get money in their pocket. My whole thing was, I need to put money in your pocket, because if you feel like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Money
if I eat off
motivates,
this, yeah.
especially if you have that feeling like I made this money and I'm in control of this. But then also pairing it up with financial literacy. Like, yeah, you're making your money, but you need to know how to make that money grow and make it, last. So just like thinking about what I felt we needed in society in a couple years and planting the seeds in those students when they came into my care. And so, like, yeah, Malik was in the program. I'm not saying I don't think he was one of the ones that was on program. I can't remember.
Yeah, I doubt it.
But he was a rough one, and I'll tell it. I had to kick him out my program about 2 times, but I always let this boy back in. And it was so funny because he would get so upset about different things, and I'm like, Malik, like, it's something inside of you. You gotta like focus. I said, you got so much potential. You are an artist. I mean, he was an artist back then. And he would have these moments, and then he would come back like, oh, Miss Itina, I'm so sorry. Could I come back? I said, next week. He'd come back next week. And he developed. I'm so proud of that dude, man.
Yeah, me too. I get happy every time I see him. I'm like, yo,
so
you
proud
did something?
of him.
That's dope.
Man.
So, you spoke on like about a lot of the kids would come from the probation and come to your program.
Yeah.
Just being in education, I'm like familiar with I forgot the name of the author, but she wrote a book called The New Jim Crow.
Okay.
And they talked about the school to prison pipeline.
Right.
From your experiences, and I heard you homeschool also.
Oh yeah, both my children are privately educated.
Was that a difficult decision to like take that on? Because I think a lot of parents are like, even younger people, like maybe around my age, maybe a little younger, they have kids and they see the school system and like they know it's not something that they want their kids in, but they don't see another option or feel like they have another option.
Right. Why do you refer to it as privately educated and not homeschool?
Because I took on that way of saying it when I saw other successful people saying it that way. And I feel like that elevates privately educated. This is what I mean by it. So I'm not necessarily teaching them everything. I have other teachers teaching them things in areas in which I may not know a lot about. So my son is part of a program. It's an actual home school. It's a place you go to. It's a full school with homeschool teachers, like a couple days out the week. And then for him, he has a lot more autonomy. He's 16, so he kind of guides himself in his, academics at this point. And then my daughter, she actually goes to like a private school, which is privately educated. And I think sometimes in the language, it elevates. Language elevates.
Definitely.
Homeschool, I think there's nothing wrong with saying that. But when you say privately educated, right? It's a different vibe to it. And that's really what it is. You're privately educating your child. Also with homeschool, I feel like when you say that, people assume that you're sitting with your child the whole time and teaching them everything. I'm not. I'm utilizing resources to support my children in the areas in which I see they need support in. And so I may bring in, different individuals, or I may have them part of specific programs. Like my daughter's going to be doing fencing. Like that's different. Because I want her to have different experiences. My son does fencing at his, private homeschool. And there's some other little, like he does robotics, economics, physics, and things like that. Some stuff you don't even get in the public education system. But nonetheless, it's just a fancy way to say the thing.
No,
but I noticed you kind of emphasized it when you said it, and like
purpose.
That was like the first thing you said. Yeah, I can tell it was
On
intentional.
purpose.
So that's why I wanted to
because I want you to explain. I want us to use that language.
And that's one thing we got to learn is like the importance of language, and just like a small word like I don't like to say like slaves. Like I try to correct myself every time. I say, oh no, prisoners of war. Like
True.
Like no, there was a nation. There were people here. They had their own thing. you captured them. That's a prisoner.
Right.
There was a war going
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah,
Prisoner
that's true.
war.
Which I'm glad you said, because I really don't like using the term hood.
Mm.
I really don't, because it has a tonation about it.
What do you refer to it as?
So I do often say that. Also, the reason why I don't like saying hood is because neighbor is absent. And I think that's why it's called that, because we don't have a neighborly mindset. We're not looking out for one another. So then neighbor drops and it's just hood. I still say hood because we all know what I'm talking about. But I really don't like to refer to it as that. I don't think I have another reference of it other than hood.
Well, you got to come up with something, and we
I
hop
do.
on the bandwagon and push
But
it.
you know
We'll
what
promote it.
you know what I've been thinking as far as hood is concerned?
Mm-hmm.
For me, hood, I've made it to be highly optimistic and occasionally dangerous. HOOD. Now, when I talk about dangerous, my mindset, mentality, and my intelligence is a threat to the system. That makes me dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Frederick Douglass talked about, reading and language, education can be a threat. And so I feel like, if I'm going to say hood, this is what I mean by it. I'm highly optimistic and occasionally dangerous.
That's fire.
I like that.
That's how I would look at it.
Nah, that's dope. Yeah, I feel there's so much. What time we at, Kima? Okay.
Sweet. How long we got? We can talk forever.
Yeah, we could talk for a little minute.
There's a whole bunch
I
of
wanted
stuff to talk
to.
about.
We had went past something. I didn't want to steer the conversation though. You were saying about how you could be touring and you could be like going on shows, but as an artist, you're choosing not to because you like the lifestyle you're living.
Yes.
So as an artist, how else do you make money and make revenue off of your art if you're not touring? Because a lot of artists think that that's the main source of income is touring.
I appreciate you asking that. I am highly resourceful. And the moment I realized creative problem solving is gold is the moment that I became more free, if you will. Creative problem solving is like my thing. I consider myself a creative art strategist. And so as I, kind of moved and shaked in my life, I had to sit down because I was a busybody. I was saying yes to a lot of things, especially in business as an entrepreneur. You feel like you can't leave a bag. Like, I got to take all the bags because I don't know if there'll be no bags in some season. Yeah. So being that I'm a wife and I'm a mother and I take those very serious, and when I started to see the effects on my household when I was gone a lot, and it's beautiful to have the freedom, I'm just traveling, it's great. But there was an effect that my household was having when I wasn't present. And so I had to creatively problem solve. Like, first of all, I can't tour. I can't move like this because it's affecting my family, And so in what ways can I earn money without doing that? Now, first of all, I personally didn't feel like I needed to tour. It was an opportunity that I took to have that experience. I was already doing these other things. So to answer the question, I do a lot of different things. I'm an entrepreneur, so I do, we do story-based visuals. So we earn, from contracts doing that, pretty big contracts with, like organizations, colleges, and things like that to tell the stories, whatever projects they, need us to tell. So that's one. I'm also a consultant, and so I help people ideate. If they have something they're trying to do, a project or something like that, I get paid to ideate because that's a strength that I have. I do music. Now, I don't make a lot of money off of streaming. I would say music doesn't make me a lot, to be honest with you. I don't get involved in doing merch and things like that. But because of music, I have this opportunity to go and do a show to earn, and then you do merch there. And so I do that as well. Man, it's a
And the music aspect also,
lot of other things.
even though you say it doesn't make you that much money, it adds to like your name and your brand.
It does. It opens up doors, which is, it's good. You know, it definitely opens up doors. I'm resourceful when it comes to writing grants. And so a lot of what I do, the way that I make music career work for me, is that I incorporate music into grant writing. And so, for example, Tales from the Porch. I'm pretty sure maybe you're familiar with this project or not. Tales from the Porch is a project that I did, that I've been doing for the past few years. And it's grant funded. Now, there's grants for artists. I don't have to be a non-for-profit. I have a fiscal sponsorship with ASI, which is a great organization that helps artists, you know, build within what they're doing in their space. And they have these different opportunities and linkages to grant funding. And so because I have the background in English, I have an English degree and I like to write, but also because I have the experience as a non-for-profit working in that industry and also youth development, and I've done all of these different things in these different perspectives, I know how to write in order to gain funding to fund the things that I would like to see happen within my community. And so with that creative problem solving, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for this grant. I'm going to incorporate music in this project. So I have a Tales from the Porch EP coming out. That's been funded through the grant. So now my ROI is a little different because the grant sourced the funds for whatever I need. I didn't have to pay for, out of my own pocket, I didn't have to pay for studio time. You know what I mean? And those things. So just kind of trying to be smart. Battle rap, right? Let me pay attention. All right, how do I, do what I need to do to make it make sense? So those are the ways in which I make it work for me. And for me, I had to sit down and think at the year, how much money do I need to make to maintain my side of things at home? So let's take trips. I'm going to take care of extracurriculars for my children. I'm going to take care of the house, make it look pretty. The towels, the dish detergent, all of those things that comes from my source income. Whereas my husband, he handles all of the heftier stuff. And so what do I need to make in order to make that happen? But then on the business end, how much do I need to make in a year to sustain the business? Then you have those numbers. And then you say, okay, let me figure out what sources of income I'm going to pull in to get these numbers. Nothing more. I live below my means in order to not be surprised or thrown off guard when something crazy happens. That is where delayed gratification has to come in, which we don't learn in the hood. We want it now. We want it immediately.
Survival.
You know what I'm saying?
Because we've been surviving for so long that when opportunity comes.
And the struggle, right? Oh, mom didn't buy me the J's when I was younger. Man, I'm about to get this money so I can get the latest J's or whatever.
I got to buy 20 of them.
Not realizing that, if you're smart, like, I like my sneakers. Don't get me wrong. I try to look great. I try to look, because I like style. I like to express myself. And it's not for anyone to say, oh man, you look dope. It's for me because this is another way to express myself. And so I incorporate that in my funds. If I want to buy, I want to buy a couple of nice outfits, I'm going to do that once a quarter. How much money do I need? All right, so I'm going to factor that into my number. You know what I'm saying? So just being strategic like that allows me not to feel like I'm living this hustle life. Like, oh man, I gotta take this bag and I gotta do this bag. Nah, my number is my number. And I try to make a little bit more than that number to tuck away so that I'm 6 to 8 months in advance. So I already planned out 2024. As far as money is concerned, I'm tucking money away so I'm not stressed in 2024. You feel me?
That's
That took a lot though. I'm not sitting here talking
Yeah,
about
that
I'm
ain't no
sweet
easy
out here.
feat. Yeah.
Listen, man, I done went like, oh shoot. I had to realize money was a problem in my life. And I had to look at the root of it. And the root of it was growing up, I felt like I couldn't get what I wanted. And so I had this feeling like, man, when I get paid, man, I'm gonna get this, and that. And you living paycheck to paycheck. And then when something hits you, you like, dag, I ain't got no money. And then you blaming everybody else. Like, oh man, I'm working so hard at this job and I ain't making enough money. No, I'm just being foolish with my money. And I'm instant gratification. No, I need to learn something, get myself together so I'm not feeling stressed out. And that's why I move. You might see me move. I'm just free because I done already thought about a year in advance, and I ain't got to stress. Now, trust me, there's stressors in my life.
Yeah, planning all of that is stressful.
Yeah, it is stressful. But once you get it, and I think that this is something people who move like us, and I won't even attribute it to a color because I've met many different people who have issues with money because of just like growing up a certain way. If we can understand delayed gratification,
That's the key.
we would be all right. and credit. Having, being smart with your money is important,
So two questions. How long have you been married or with your partner? And how long did it take for you two to come to that agreement of, okay, I'm gonna take care of this stuff financially and you do the heavy lifting?
So we've been married for 13 years. And I'd say, obviously we didn't get it at first.
13 years. Today is 9/13.
And it's his birthday.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, man. Just all the numbers just adding up.
Yeah.
Man, happy birthday.
Appreciate
You here
it.
for your birthday.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
dope, man. That's dope. I'd say maybe half that time. Not perfect. And I don't think we'll ever be perfect. We're striving towards it. And we're not using our imperfections as excuses. But I'd say half of that was like, okay, this is how we do it. This is how we get it done. Man, I got a great partner too.
That's dope.
It's just super down for it and down for me. And like when I'm 40, he's 60, or he's trying to push past. We make 100 any kind of way.
No,
But
that's so bad.
we work well together. There's ups and downs and highs and lows in any relationship, but we work well together when it comes to that. He's super logical. I'm super creative, and I'm a risk taker. But I appreciate his like, hold on real quick. I don't know.
Let's analyze this a
Not
little bit
making
more.
sense to me. And I'm like, no, but dream, like, look at this, like, but he calms me down because it's like, you know what, when I had to realize, let me chill because you have something to offer. Let me not be so arrogant thinking that I'm just so sweet out here, because I was independent and I was a single mom with my son for a couple years, for some time. And I came into the relationship like, I'm good. Like, I don't really need, like, I'm good. I got life. And so I had to come to the place where, like, let me not be so arrogant thinking that I know everything. Let me actually listen to you because you have a different perspective. And listening could help our relationship. And it did. Me kind of, I know people get kind of funny about this word, but submission.
That's funny. We was just
I knew that was coming
we
up.
talked
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
But understanding that it's not like a slave. It's not, or what did you call it?
Prisoner of war.
Prisoner of war. It's not like that. It's just having a respect for where my husband comes from and his mindset, and knowing that anything he does is for the benefit for the family. I'm a follow that. That just makes sense. And especially like we're faith-based. So we, God is at the foundation. If my husband is God-fearing and God-seeking, why wouldn't I submit to that? And then he submits to the areas in which I kind of dominate in, if you will. He's like, oh yeah, you got this. Yeah, like, whatever, like go for it.
That balance.
It is a balance, and when people start to understand that relationships are about balance, it's not about love is not about like this lovey-dovey stuff. Like, oh man, I gotta feel happy.
Word.
Marriage is not like my goal is not to necessarily. It's gonna sound crazy. It's not about being happy.
It's not crazy to me because
me?
I've been feeling like that. Like it's like it doesn't matter how much I feel about this. It's
Yeah.
like it doesn't line.
We
It
a
doesn't line up.
team.
Yeah.
This is a team effort to get us to whatever goal we created for our family. And we got to work together regardless of how we feel. We have to know how to respond. Responses are the important part. You're remembered by your behaviors, not your feelings. Nobody thinking about your feelings. Like, oh, he was angry. No, they're gonna say, oh, he punched that dude in the face. Now he in jail. So it's about that kind of balance. I'm a firm believer in that. And the moment we started to see that, the moment that I feel like we grew a lot in our relationship, but also our family started to just just like things fall in line.
That's super dope. That's what's needed. It's like I always like whenever I meet people who are like married, like either new 10 plus, 20, 30 plus,
Yeah.
I always want to hear that take
Yeah.
on the balance and just like finding that glue.
Yeah.
That keeps it together.
Yeah.
And none of them say like love is or I don't say not say love, but it's like an understanding.
Yeah. And then love is it's a interesting thing, Love is not it's not necessarily a feeling, but it can be. It's part of it. It's a respect, it's an understanding, it's a commitment, it's a compromise. It's unconditional. It's highs and lows. It's so many factors into that word, but we're taught and we're fed feelings all the time. Remember when you were younger? How did that make you feel? Oh, they said that to you? How did you feel? And it was more about that than how did you respond? So I asked my children, when I asked them about their day, like my daughter one day told me that somebody said, so her tooth came out. This is a couple years back in the front. Her tooth came out. And so she looked wild. But that's what we look wild. When
we all got to
lose
go
our
through
teeth.
it. Yeah.
And so somebody called her, what is it, like a saber-tooth tiger or something like that. And I was getting ready to say, how did that make you feel? And instead, I asked her the question, how did you respond? And so then she proceeded to tell me that, she said, no, I don't look like that. I was like, so then what happened? And, she went through this process. It's a different conversation that you're having. And it helps her to focus on her responses more than her feelings. Because think about it. The more you focus on feelings, think about if your feelings are this important, when you get upset in your adulthood, you know how sometimes you can't get over it? It take a while to get over it. That thing will chain you focusing on your feelings. A better way is like, man, I'm angry, but I still got to go to work. Or if you're in the moment, like, man, my boss getting on my nerves, but I still got to do what I got to do.
Yeah,
So
like
how
what
am
is
I
me
gonna
feeling
respond?
like this? What is this? Where is this getting me at the moment?
Yeah,
How is this overcoming the situation or being a creative problem solver?
exactly.
I'm going to use that with my students. I have students like who have emotional disturbances.
Right.
So some of them have really high highs, really low lows,
Right.
and it's just like how do you feel? It's like they're going through the roof. Obviously, but it's like no. How did you respond?
Right.
To this situation?
Yeah.
And I see it in my head right now. I'm like I'm gonna get a completely different response.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You are. And it's going to make them pause. Like, what do you mean? How to respond? Like, respond. And I think that that's something we need to help. The more that conversation is had at a young age, the more they'll think about their responses and they'll think about them in the moment. Like, oh, shoot. Like, with a lot of things, if I take it there, like, think about like intimacy or being young and having sex. Like, if you feel like this, but how will you respond to it? Like, what are the values you set up for yourself? Like, you say you don't want children, but that's typically the result of that act. You feel like you want to do X, Y, and Z, but how will you respond to these emotions and feelings? I feel like society pushes us to do as thou wilt.
For sure.
However you feel, go for it. You feel like that? That's what's up. I'm going to support it. But you know what I mean? Like,
Biting my tongue.
it just, like, go do it. Yay. Like, whatever you feel, go for it. But when you get older in your adulthood, that's not reality. If I feel like smacking someone in the face and I do it, I'm going to jail. Simple as that. That's the result of the action, because the action is what you're remembered by. You know, nobody care about your feelings.
Big facts.
You know.
I felt like a bird today. I mean, I'm jumping off a building and flying.
I feel like flying. Like, okay.
Well, I wanted to tap into the music a little bit. You had your single "Don't Eat Crow," and was it Bonnets and Bantus?
Bonnets and Bantus.
Bonnets and Bantus. I was listening to it on the way over here, and I heard you mention cryptocurrency.
Oh man, come on now.
Yeah, so I was like, oh yeah, she tapped in. I was like, so with your music,
not that tapped in, but I know about it, and I invested in it back when it was like, in my opinion, when it made sense to invest, and then it got weird. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Like, what year are you saying?
During COVID,
yeah,
like 2020.
Yeah.
Big money started coming in.
I was like, ooh,
I watched it.
It grew so crazy. I know a couple of people that like earned crazy off of it when it first started, because it was like so low. The price, the shares were so low. Dang, I mean, they was buying houses off the money they made.
I made some good money.
Made a pretty
COVID.
penny.
Yeah, small investments too.
That's
I was
what's
like,
up.
yeah, it was super dope. Well, are these singles for a roll-up for a new project?
Yes. So those, I'm looking to have those on the Tales on the Porch project.
Okay.
And so with Tales on the Porch, and this is how I included music into the process. The short films, or these like story vignettes, if you will, the music underneath it is the music is my original music with my engineer, Carolina Blue. And so it just made sense, right, to incorporate that. So I'm looking to release a project, Tales from the Porch with those tracks, and those songs will be on there.
Okay, dope. What does "Don't Eat Crow" mean?
Don't eat crow is a phrase that my mother would say growing up. So my mother, she adopted us in her 50s. She had us as foster children, and then she wound up adopting us some years later. And she was older, so she's in her 50s. So she would say these different things, and we had no idea what she was talking about. But as I got older, it made sense. So don't eat crow is this idea of living a humble life so you don't have to be humbled. Like, you don't want your words to come back to you where you got to eat your words. It's just like, don't eat crow. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is crow is not a good thing to eat biblically. Like, you wouldn't want to eat crow. It's it's like eating pork.
Yeah, a scavenger
Don't
bird.
kill me, don't kill me.
It's like a scavenger bird.
Yeah,
You see him on the battlefield eating the dead bodies.
Exactly. So to eat that means you're at the lowest. Not to knock if somebody had to eat crow. I mean, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Do what you gotta do.
But if you can help it, like, that's not a good thing to digest. It's not good to digest. Meaning that regardless of the circumstance, I'm gonna keep my mindset above and want more. I mean, the ladder, like she would always say, the ladder only goes one way, and that's up. And so that's where I want to go. And being that we come from a space, we come from parents who had a very tough time, had some voids in their lives, and they chose drugs. And, that led us to be in a situation we were in, placed in foster care. Just because I come from that doesn't mean that I have to accept that for my life and myself. I don't have to kind of eat crow, if you will. I don't have to fester in that. I can seek more and seek better, So that's kind of the idea behind that.
So, in music, I feel like a lot of people fester in their traumas and in their just in their circumstances, and it feels like a lot of creativity is lacking in nowadays like modern rap. I respect artists who can come from that, but their music changes when their circumstances do also.
True.
I look at Kevin Gates and how he evolved, and his music evolved with him, and the talent, the skill level was still there, regardless of how you feel about what he does, how he acts. Yeah. But it's like he was able to show that transition,
like maturity.
Yeah, maturity with his music.
Like and stop being you grew up.
Yeah, and I feel like it's almost like frowned upon. And I goes like, "Oh, you ain't keeping it real no more." It's like,
but I am keeping it real.
Yeah, because the fans want you to be how you were when they fell in love with you. So that like hinders an artist's growth. Because like you were saying earlier, they want to please the fans because the fans help them grow to where they are. So it's kind of hard for them to pick, and it's like a battle between them.
I think I can't really attribute it to a personality or character. Perhaps maybe it is. I think that's a flaw in those areas, in my opinion. Like, that's why you have to be careful. And I'll just speak like personally. Music to me started off as a release. It's a medicine for me. It's like air. It's my way of coping with trauma. It's my way of coping with just difficulties. It's my way to make sense of this world, and translate what's happening around me in some kind of way. Like I said, it'll be very difficult to separate art from me. It's just like who I am. So as I grew in music, and I didn't mean for music to become a career for me. That was not my game. Like, I was not trying to do that. But the more you do music, the more you put it out there, the more people are going to hear it and be probably attracted to it. And I'm going to assume that people were attracted to the truth that I was telling within my music, and it got more traction. And then when I saw like, oh, this could be a career, let me move in that way. When I saw that, I had to make a decision. I literally had to sit down and think about it. One thing that I wasn't going to do was compromise my content and compromise what I was talking about. First of all, I rapped. Prior to how I rap now, I was rapping, I was a battle rapper, and I rapped in the street, and I rapped about whatever I was doing. And I wasn't, I made foolish decisions in my life for no good reasons. I didn't have to do the things that I did. I just made a choice because that's what I wanted to do. And I followed whatever fleshly desire that I had. When I made a choice and a decision to change my life and to do better with what was given to me, is when I like, this is what I want to say in my music, so that I can say something that's going to be water to my community, that's going to fertilize the ground of my community. Nothing that I'm going to say is going to diminish or devalue my people, regardless of how you look. I'm not going to do that. So I had to be strategic in my moves, and I didn't care. I don't really care what anybody is doing and what type of things are going on in, what would you say, in the culture, if you will. It's not going to shift what I'm saying. But people have to make a decision consciously for themselves. You know what I mean? This is the way that I move and what I want to do with what I'm given. And I think people get trapped in this feeling of wanting to be accepted, wanting to be liked, and wanting the money to keep trickling in. It goes back to that money. That's why you have to really think about, how much money do I really need to make? Because for a section of time, I thought that I needed to make 6 figures. Like I was chasing after 6 figures, heavy. Like, oh man, business has got to be 6 figures. Then you get 6 figures. Then what's next? Oh man, I got to make my first million. And when you get that, then what? Oh man, I got to do this. Same thing with the numbers for social media. I got to get my first 500 followers. Oh, I got 500. I got to get I got to get 1,000 now. What I got to do to get 1,000?
Carrot on the string.
What I got to, like, okay, now what? To calm myself down for that section of time and think about, what do I want my life to say? Let me stay focused on that, because that shouldn't change. Values and beliefs typically don't change. Pretty standard, right? They're like a rock, you know? God first for me, then family, then community, if you will. That won't change for me. So anything that I say or do is going to be based off of that. And so I have to create the life that I need to live in order to keep that true. So I don't want to chase. I wish this upon everybody. Don't chase after numbers. I get it. You got to eat. You got to make ends meet. Be wise and don't lose yourself. I don't want to lose me. I don't want to be in this interview like this and then be in a different interview a different way. You know, I want to still say the same thing. Maybe I'll be a little bit more poised if I'm on Good Morning America. Maybe, you know, but I'm still going to say what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to have to switch up because of the different audience.
No, that's real.
I said a lot.
No,
you made complete
perfect.
sense though.
That was perfect. And it's like I had like kind of like almost like an identity crisis when I started teaching. In a sense, it's like, oh, I feel like I'm not being myself. Like, I don't know if, like, can you still be like hood and be a math teacher? Can you like balancing the two and like finding that middle ground from between just who I am, music, math, and making it all work? It's like at a certain point, it's like I look at it as like you got to be the bridge of whatever future creation you want to see. Right. And it's like what I want to do hasn't been done yet. So I had to walk in it.
Kind of create in the lane. And yeah, I think, man, when I learned about what you do, I'm like, yo, this is super dope. And then you just you. You know what I mean? Like this is what we have to do though. Like when I taught at Buffalo State. So I did like a semester of teaching there, and I got my kicks on. You know, I'm the only professor that looked like how I look, and I was very nervous about it because I'm like, dang, like, do I have to go here in like heels and do all of this stuff? And I'm like, I would be so not me. Like, I'm here because of my authenticity, you know? So this is how I am. Thanks. If Steve Jobs could wear a white shirt and some jeans every day and be accepted with some sneakers, then I'm wearing my kicks.
For sure.
And I'm wearing my hoodie sometimes, some sweatpants. It's not about like, first of all, it is important to dress a certain way in certain spaces. Don't get me wrong. That's very important. But I think it's more important in how you act and how you present yourself. Once I open up my mouth and I'm talking and I'm speaking and I showcase to you what I can do, that's where I should be getting the respect. Don't look at what I got on. Listen to what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And then staying true to that, I think gets a lot of respect from youth. It's just like, oh, shoot. Because I would get that. I would walk in and like, especially the students who, like the black students. Like, oh, shoot. Like, they kind of see themselves like, maybe I could be a professor.
It's like I could do that too. I ain't gotta. I can still wear my J's
or like I can be good at math.
Mm.
Like, why was it so corny to be smart?
I got jumped in middle school for being good at math by friends.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Nah, they just thought you was sweet.
Because
I won the math award in 8th grade. I ain't get jumped for it.
4th grade. From then I was like, I started like failing. I would do just enough to like.
Now that's ridiculous.
I would do just enough to like not fail, but not get in trouble with my parents. I float right in the middle. And then as soon as that kind of switching, it was like, I don't have to like dim my light.
That's wild.
And then that's when I started getting good. That's when I started embracing the fact, okay, I am good at this.
That's such a crazy mindset. I think as parents, I was watching this one interview about this woman was talking about how she would downplay her kids' abilities. And then she like went back to like slave times. Right. What do you call it again?
Prisoners of war.
Prisoners of war. And so she was talking about how when the masters would come around, or the wardens, the guards will come around, and they would look and they want to invest in another prisoner, if you will, and they'd look at the younger ones, young boys. The mothers would downplay, like they'll come around, oh, this one looks really strong, like yeah, strong but real dumb. Or, yeah, he might look strong, but, he don't listen. And then it's interesting how that same kind of talk we kind of do. We, like, downplay our kids sometimes. And I got to admit, to be transparent, like, I would hear myself doing that. Like, somebody would compliment, like, my son. Like, oh, man, you got such a smart kid. Like, yeah, he's smart, but he could be a knucklehead. And it's true. Like, I mean, isn't every kid? But why do I need to say that? Yes, he is smart. Thank you very much. Let me tell you other things about him. Like
accepting the compliment. Yeah, embracing.
Why you gotta, even for ourselves, like, oh man. And I would do this a lot. Like somebody would compliment me on something, and I like completely downplay it. And I would hear myself like, why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. Oh man, you did such a good job. Like, yeah, but I ain't that good. Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the human brain like focuses like on like.
I want to criticize myself.
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's funny. Like even like guys be like, oh bro, oh you looking good. Oh man, I'm just trying to get like you.
Trying to get like you.
I'm trying to get like you. I'm trying to. It's deflected, and it's just like yo.
Or like oh man, that outfit is cute. Like oh thank you, but I got it on clearance. Like oh, no. So like. We always want to downplay ourselves for some reason, and I think it's like this fake humility, thinking that like, oh, let me dim my light, so you don't think I'm sweet. No, we could just be sweet.
Yeah, the illusion of like being humble. Like man, as I get older, and I was like, I seen like how things happen in your life is like kind of like being humble. We got misled with it a little bit. Sometimes you gotta speak it and let it be known. Like, first time I seen it was like DJ Khaled is like, he was talking about how he don't get this credit. He go up to Hot 97 yelling and screaming. After that, through the roof.
Yeah.
That's when he got all his number ones, all of that stuff. I heard Joey Badass spoke about it, just trying to like be humble and it's almost like you're almost minimizing yourself. Yeah. Instead of just like, no, I'm that dope. Like,
right.
No, I'm
it's,
him.
It's okay. To now I follow, like I read the Bible a lot. I follow the ideology of not placing myself on a pedestal, but letting others speak well and high of you. What I'm still trying to get better at is when people do speak well of me in my presence, eating that. I don't know why I get this high anxiety when I'm in a space and somebody's saying different things like, oh man, you dope. I get this feeling in me like, oh, stop talking about me. Like, oh, okay, like, all right, talk about something else. I'm trying to train myself to to accept it, you know, because we do that too much. We downplay ourselves too much. If somebody's speaking well of you, that's beautiful.
Word.
Accept that. You know, it's not a bad thing. You don't need to downplay it. You know.
No, that's super.
I still struggle with it.
Can you give us a quick summary of all the things you got your hands in, like right now?
Oh man, there's a lot. There's a lot of different things I'm involved in at the moment. One in which I'm really happy to be part of is Buffalo State University. So I'm on the board of foundation, or the foundation board, and a committee that I'm part of is the Grit Scholarship, and the Grit Scholarship is for students who they may not be academically savvy, they're not failing, they're gritty, they're doing everything that they need to do, but financially it's just tough in college. And sometimes that financial barrier will make you have to leave college, but you could be doing so well if that was alleviated, right? And so there's this funding that Mike, I always say his name wrong, I'm sorry, Mike Bonatanabas, and that's kind of a get back because you got my name wrong too. But excuse me for saying it wrong, but he built this funding source so that students are able to have this funding alleviated from off their backs. And so I'm on this committee that makes the decision who is able to get, this funding. And so the students don't speak on their own behalf. They're connected to an advisor who understands the circumstance, and they bring that story to us, and we're able to help them. We've been able to help a group of college students who are able to continue college because that has been relieved. So I'm involved in that, and I'm very excited to do that, like being an alumni from there, and then being on a board, making these types of decisions, and then the students seeing someone like me on a committee means a whole heck of a bunch. And it's not just for students who have melanation. It's all types of students go through issues. But understanding, like, I come from struggle. I come from pain, and, who doesn't come from pain of some sort? So being able to be in that position is dope to me. And then Get Focused Productions, we're in the process of doing this story on the Grit Scholarship, and then we're going to showcase that to build more funding. So that's one way. So that's that thing, right? That's mad weird. Not weird, but you have that area, and then on this other side where, like, the music realm. I just found out that my last project hit over 1 million streams.
Come on.
Which is wild.
Congrats.
Like, thank you. Like, it's wild. And I said, I'm going to start talking about it because I'm the type, I won't say nothing because I don't want the attention. But the reason why I'm happy about it is because what I'm talking about, in my opinion, is rare. And for it to hit that's a win. I'm willing to accept that win. It's not many women talking the way that I talk in music. And I want more of it to be seen and heard. So in that realm, so that's that. And some other things, I'm affiliated with Albright Knox, and just doing everything that I can to keep pushing in any spaces, just like holding my own in these various spaces. I'm finding myself in wide ranges of areas and avenues, and I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. All right, I can wear my kicks. Okay, that's what's up. I can say that's dope. All right, that's what's up. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride in this creative journey. So.
Super fact. It makes me think. I was thinking about it on the way here. It's like the three queens in hip hop rap. I feel like come out of Western New York. We got one here, and then I think of Shay,
Love,
and Love.
Yeah,
those three kind. We got some. We got some dope with like MCs, yo.
We do. We got. I mean, what's not dope about Buffalo?
Come on. Like when I in my travels, I've been to dozens of cities, and I have not seen one like this.
No.
from the art standpoint to the hip hop scene to just like
the most creative, man.
food. Like it's.
Did you see that that video that Gus Clark did
Mm-hmm.
with Jillian?
Yeah. Shout out to Slim Gus. We trying to get him up here. We was gonna try to go out there to get him, but like, yeah, we gotta sit down with Gus.
That joint is so Buffalo. It's so good. It's so good. It made me so proud to watch that joint. I'm
For
like,
sure.
Everybody got to see this in the world. But yeah, we have a lot of dope, creative individuals in our city, you know, and down to earth too.
Word.
A lot of the individuals that I know here are pretty down to earth, pretty touchable.
That's super dope. Where can the people find you if they want to learn more about you? Just tap into some of the events.
Yeah.
Music.
In Buffalo, New York. Come to my city. I'm right here.
Word.
No, but you know, social media. Instagram is like, I'd say that's my favorite place to be. You'll find me on there more. And that's AI the Anomaly. But then also Get Focused Productions. You'll find me in that way. I think that's the quickest way to get to me, you know, Instagram. And then all streaming platforms, AI the Anomaly if you want to listen to music. But the creative space, you know, Get Focused Productions.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We
it's
might
a
have
great
to do
combo.
a part two.
We definitely got to do a part two.
I'm down.
Well, appreciate you. No label to pod. We out.
Peace.
Peace.